Well, some lo-fi autumn vibes. That's better. Go. Hey, Harachan13, how you doing, bud? So right now I'm just looking at what I've got left to paint, and I'm going to make some decisions on how much more to paint them. So I'd say these guys are about 80% done. I got to do their faces and the weapons, and then make a decision on their bases. So there's 10 of them. I think this one particular guy needs the most amount of work right here on the left. Trying to get that in focus. Here we go. Blurry, blurry, blurry in focus. So this guy. So I think I need to make some decisions on all the faces here. I'm going to lay them out so it's clear what I've done so far. So I got these guys with the Thompson machine guns. I've got these two guys with the rifles, and these guys are not. So he's the most incomplete. Then I've got these two guys. Also with Thompsons. This guy is a more complete sketch of the face, but still not finished really. But I think the uniform looks good. I like that a lot. So these guys, yes. Got two guys with machine guns. I gotta look up what this weapon is. I forget the name of it. So I gotta do their faces. The rest of them have a burnt red base coat for their face, but this is sort of like a highlight I did. And then I'm going to, so it's 8, and then I've got these two guys on the ground, and I just need to add some highlights to their uniforms. But this guy has the most complete face. He's probably the best looking face I've done for an Airfix model, and I need to finish his hand. So faces and uniforms are incomplete as of right now. Then I have some plastic card, and I might make some bases for these 4 guys. I haven't decided yet, but the plastic card I have is the same width as the base of these, so it would be perfect. I just cut out an oval and glue them to it. And these guys on the ground, I didn't paint their bottoms because the idea was to stick them on something, but I might, because I intend to sell these, I might leave them off and let whoever buys them, use them as they want to, if they intend to use them. in a diorama or something. So these guys also need highlights on their uniforms. So dun 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 dun. So these are the uniforms I have to do. And then there's two guys that I painted in previous videos, which are these guys. It's the officer and a guy with a rifle. So they're not going to be a part of this set. They were painted separately. They were painted differently because they were painted at different times. You can see I did still did English uniform on the actual pants and jacket, but the straps and pouches, canteen, were all done with, I believe, like a dark olive. And these guys have more of a khaki and desert, no, I'm sorry, a khaki and tan earth color to contrast out a little bit. So these guys will remain separate from this batch. But then I've got these two guys, and this one, his gun broke, which is unfortunate. And I never found the tip. It broke off and bounced somewhere, and I never found it, or else I would have glued it back on. So I'm probably just going to keep him in the like the test pile. So I'll just keep him off to the side and continue to do test painting with him. But this is a more complete version of him. He's got a bit of texture on him as I was trying to figure out what the color scheme would be, but he looks pretty good. So all of them look really nice together. They look really good on the tabletop too. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys need highlights, and I think they have pretty good contrast overall. I'm not going to overwork the uniforms too much. I want to get into the faces. So what I've got on the painting desk is over here, I've got my canvas. And on the canvas, I have the remnants of my, oh, let me fix the camera here. Got the remnants of what I was painting with last night, but essentially this is a lighter color of English uniform. So English uniform is this olive color right here. And then this was Japanese uniform, but I did not like the color of it. And I believe this is, where did I put my paint? I was cleaning up a minute ago. And I moved my paints. 1 second. I'm having a real senior moment here. But essentially I'm going to use this and mix it with these two colors here and mix them together. This ends up being like the darker tone, which is essentially just black. Oh, here they are, right in my face. So yeah, I've been using desert yellow as the highlight. So desert yellow, English uniform as the mid-tone, and then black mixed with English uniform as the low tones. And a lot of the work was done for me with the priming. So I sprayed black Vallejo primer all over, and then from the topmost point, the zenith, I sprayed English uniform on top of that, both Vallejo primers. And it gave me a really nice gradient. And then what I did from there was just go through and pull out some of the highest points and then glaze them into the midtones to create a nice subtle transition. They look pretty good. I mean, they look kind of crappy when you first get them started. I don't have any examples of it but then once you blend them, they pull and they look there. They have a nice gradient, nice subtle blend. I've seen these painted a number of different ways with darker uniforms and lighter, and I'm just using English uniform because it says exactly what it is. These are British Commandos, so an English uniform color makes sense to me. Thank you for joining me. If you're curious about anything that I'm doing, want to ask any questions, feel free to ask. I will certainly keep looking. Thanks, Hungry Dano. I can't seem to get this to... I can't seem to get the comments to stay up like I want them to. So I apologize if I miss anything. I try and check it every couple minutes, and I don't have my computer set up in front of me to see comments in real time because it just takes up too much room on the desk right now. Okay, so I'm going to put a couple of these guys aside, but I want them for reference. So I'll start with this guy. Okay, so what I was doing and what I thought worked well, so after I've got the nice gradient from the priming process, and then I was using my number 1 brush, this is a number 2, I'm sorry, because I like the belly here of the brush. I think it's got a good, it retains a good amount of paint and moisture when I'm painting and then blending. And if I go too small, that's better for real fine details like within the face. So like a number 2 and number 1 is really good for this type of work. But all I really am doing is, hey, how you doing? Thanks for joining, bud. I don't speak Russian, but I welcome you. I see your name is in Russian. It looks like Russian to me, but I'm not sure. Apologies if it's not. All right, so here is the process for this. Got my midtone, and all I'm going to do is dab out and make sure there's not too much water on my brush. So over here, I'm just pulling off a lot of the moisture, filling up the belly of the brush, and then going to apply. It's a little too wet still. I need to get it off a little bit, get a little bit more moisture out of the hairs here. I'll let that dry, but come over here. Make sure I'm as in focus as I can be. So looking at this guy as a reference, I think I went a little overboard on his highlights, so I'm going to pull back on it a little bit so he's not quite so bright, because not everyone else is that bright. I'm just going to leave him as is, but I want to identify some of the areas that I intend to blend into higher tones and create more contrast. Use my finger while it's still wet to get rid of any areas I did not mean to touch or don't like after I touch them. And I'm using my light source, which is right above me, as a bit of an indicator to tell me like where the highest points should be. But the zenithal priming also did a lot of that work for me. It's just a matter of adding some greater intensity to the highlight. And then not overdoing it. So this will look, like I said, this won't look great at first. But once I start to blend, it'll look good. It takes a bit. It's a pretty focused activity. And I'm still trying to get the perfect amount of paint within my brush. It always takes me a bit of trial and error to get this perfect. I need to pull up my desk. It's too low. That noise is my desk raising up. Okay, here we go. A little too high. Perfect. If I go up too high, then I can't look up and see my screen, and I don't know what's in focus. Yeah, the trick is to keep the brush hairs just the right amount of moist, and it's you know, it's something I'm always practicing because I'm not the best at it. It's still too moist. Once I get in a good groove, I usually am. Like last night, yesterday I was doing a lot of these over the course of a couple hours, and got into a pretty good groove with it at the end. But I was also absolutely exhausted by the end of the day. I think I painted these guys for 3 or 4 hours straight. Just on the uniform blending. It's probably more than I need to do, but it becomes very relaxing until I'm exhausted, and then I need to break. I like absolutely crashed after painting yesterday. Just don't have the stamina for it. I'm trying to build it up. I think I got the brush loaded good. I think the moisture level is good for now. I'll try to maintain this amount. It's it's a little bit of trial and error whenever I get started. Usually I like to go thin and then build up heavier on a second pass. So even this is getting to a little bit on the thick side, a little bit more water. So I've just got a cup in front of me with water, and I dip and rinse and reapply, reload the brush. Try to thin it down as I get closer to what will be a mid-tone or in low the shadows. I'm trying to put my finger right on the paint too. That's definitely one thing I need to get better at, is touching the model. I need to hold low, and I do have a paint handle, but then I get weird angles with the camera. Like, it's better to hold it for the purposes of filming. Otherwise, my hand is like stretched out too far, and it never stays in frame. It's a little quirky. I just need to do this more. I need to do more painting and recording, so I can really figure out what's working and what's not working. It just comes trial and error. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little bit of the leg highlight here. I'm gonna add some more English uniform to the palette. So it's just Vallejo English uniform, and then Vallejo Desert Yellow is the highlight, and black is my low light. So here we are. Let me make sure to see if this is all in frame. Cool. Okay. So it's definitely a bit of a back and forth process here. I'm going to clean my brush off a little bit. And the front of the uniform is more black than it is English uniform due to the way the primer hit it. So now I'm just going to use that same English uniform that I hit it with the primer and pull it in here. So I'd say that it's really like Vallejo does a great job matching their paint colors, their primers, and their acrylic paints out of the bottle. They look like they're perfect. I've used a lot of olive drab, the green olive drab for American Army men, and it's a perfect match, which is cool. So is the English uniform. All their colors are very consistent, either out of the rattle can or out of the paint bottle. It's funny, I've noticed that the Vallejo paints have a distinct smell, and then when I leave them on my wet palette and come back to it, I get like a whiff of the smell, and I don't love it. It's like not a great smell. I don't know what it is. There's something to it that is a little bit nauseating. I don't know if it's just like an overexposure to the paint, like a sensitivity. I have a bit of allergies this time of year, so my nose is just like extra sensitive, and there's something about the paint smell when I come back to it is kind of making it hard to get started at painting. So sometimes trying to get used to it, but it's something I never really noticed with not noticed, but something I never really considered when I began this hobby was the smells kind of trigger me in weird ways. So learning, but I love painting, so I don't want to stop. So it's like trying to deal with it and learn to live with it. It's an interesting little byproduct. I'm gonna be careful here not to get too thick. And you can see that's starting to blend pretty nice. Start to mix in like basically 1-to-1 with the desert yellow and the English uniform, and pulling up towards the highest point, the highlight. Looks pretty decent. Sorry if you guys are asking questions or talking. I'm sure no one is, but I just haven't checked the screen in a couple minutes. I will check soon. All right, let me just take a peek and see if anyone has said anything. Live chat. Okay, cool. Hey, everyone. Hey. Yeah, so yeah, the paint definitely has a smell to it. It's goofy. It's a goofy smell. A little nauseating. But it's usually only when I just first sit down to paint. It's like a whiff of it comes off the wet palette. It's like if I leave paint on the palette, come back to it, that's when I smell it the most. That's when I'm the most turned off by it. I'm like, eesh, do I want to do this? But I always do. let me know, you guys, if whoever's watching, if you have any thoughts on the music. I'm just playing some copyright-free music that's supposed to be safe for streaming, and it's like for specifically for this, like YouTube Live and for Twitch and stuff like that. Just try to keep it chill. I really don't know what to play. I don't really want anything that's like hardcore metal. Seems like better just do this, whatever this is. It says lo-fi autumn beats. It's chill, you know. It's a little repetitive. That's the only thing for me. If I don't zone out to it, I start to notice it. And then I get annoyed by it. I'm actually surprised my dog hasn't barked at all. Usually he hears me talking to what he assumes is no one and starts freaking out. But he's been pretty chill. He's wearing a cone of shame right now because he keeps licking his paws. He's got allergies as well. And I think the cone kind of keeps him a bit more chill than he normally would be. If he had his full senses about him, the cone sort of dampens his senses a bit. He's a bit more chill. It happens every year. We have to cone him. Otherwise, he starts to lick his paws incessantly and will not stop scratching his eyes. And then we got to get him special medicine. So can't wait for this time of year to be over. Poor guy. This guy was hard to clean up on the back. I don't know what it was about him. This guy is matey over here. He didn't have the same, so I guess it's the number. This guy's number 9. This guy's number 28. I don't know what it is about the two of them, but he didn't have the injection mold here. He had it on his elbow. And he had it on his back. And it's just hard to clean it up here without like really tearing the thing up. So this guy, I could have done a better job with this one, but this one, yeah, you can kind of see I kind of scraped away at this one quite a bit to get it flat, and this one I just overlooked him. This is number 20, and this one I don't know where his number is. They number them for the box, so you got, so like I guess they know they have the right figures in the box. This one had his number on his butt, and I scratched it off. I just forgot to do the other ones. I didn't want to re-scrape them after I've painted them, spray painted them, because then I have to go reapply, and it just becomes less even. So I think this guy looks, it's a bit more on the English uniform. Like this guy's he needs like a little less, or maybe a little bit more glazing to the desert yellow. So what I'll do is just real subtly pull up. I think I chose to do too many guys with this particular batch because it's taken me extra long. The past few batches I've done 7 guys, and now I'm doing, how many's here? That's 12 guys. It's 14 came in the box, but then I damaged the one, so it's technically 11 that I'm focusing on now. It's just, you know, it's only 4 more, but I didn't have the 5th, and there was like 5 more, but Spending more time on the face too. I spent a long time on this dude's face. Spent over an hour just on his face, and I don't want to spend too much time on every one, because then the hourly, like the amount of hours that goes into it starts to become, I think, a bit so my intention is to sell these, right? And if I spend too many hours on these, I have to charge a lot more than and I don't know what people will be willing to spend, so I'm trying to keep them at a certain price point. The past 2 times I've sold sets of 7 for under $200, and they've sold fairly quickly. So I'm trying to determine how much effort to put into them and keep at a reasonable price point, still make money and still make the hourly rate decent. And that's where I'm back and forth with everything. Just gonna check comments real quick. I think this is the most amount of people I've had chilling with me at one point consistently. Yeah, man. Cool, Hungry. Glad you like the music, man. Gronk, dude, glad to inspire you, bud. Let me know if you have any questions specifically about anything. I will try to answer it in a very long-winded way. And yeah, those injection molds, man. Yo, your pal with a mask. What's up, bud? Thanks for joining me today. We're just chilling, doing some blending. And Gronk, I know you mentioned getting the shading done. Yeah, that is tricky. Vallejo makes these new game color and model color paint ranges now that they come in sets of 4, where you've got like a low light and then 2 midtones and a highlight. So they're pretty good. You know, take some of the guesswork out. They bundle them all together now, which is cool. Prior to the new rebrand that Vallejo did, you just had to kind of look at the colors and use their suggestions, but now you can get a good sense for it and buy these color packs, so you know how to like what should be like give you the most contrast when you're painting. And then it's just learning how to do, like, learning the technique. And I'm always practicing. I've been painting consistently now for a few years, and I feel like I'm only now really starting to get a hang of it, like a feel for it. But it's only been recently that I've been very intentional with my practicing too. I was painting a lot of different types of things, and now that I'm focusing mostly on the Army Man content, it's giving me, a chance to be a bit more intentional. I've also done like a lot of speed painting and some commission work in the past, and that those are all different techniques that didn't require so much attention to detail and blending. It all depends, I guess, how much you want to practice the thing. But lately I've been doing a lot of glazing and blending highlights that way. Getting the right primer down though with these Army men, like this English uniform, just saves so much time. But I still end up adding my own amount of work to it after the fact with like these highlights and lowlights. I'm rambling a bit. I'm gonna shut up for a second. Oh yeah, it's starting to flow nice now. Takes a bit to get to this spot where I'm really liking how the paint is like pulling over the figure. That's looking pretty good. So I'll let that dry for a second. Chill with you over working on it, and I'm going to just quickly use a little bit of the English brown on these two machine gunners, and then just because they're a little dark in the chest here, and I want to do the same thing with the highlights. And instead of starting with the highlight, I'm just going to do the English brown and some of these areas that are like a little bit too dark. Make sure that looks all right. All right, here we go. Cool. Let me check messages real quick. No bad weather from any hurricanes right now. I'm up in New Jersey, so I'm not even sure where the hurricanes are from. Are they down in Florida maybe? It's usually where they come through, right? Hungry for highlights for anything. I mean, I'm just like in Vallejo. I've been sticking with them. I do have Army Painter paints that I do like, but they're a bit glossy when they dry. And now I've just been using Army Painter brand for their speed paints on occasion. So like if you want to just do a black prime and then a zenithal highlight and then do like a speed paint over the model, this one would be a great example. Hold on. So I have this Wolverine here that I intend to paint, and he's black, sprayed from black upward, and then white, light gray on the top, rather. It's light gray, not white. Using Army Painter speed paint with a little bit of water, like just thin it down. You'd still get the color, but you'd still maintain the gradient of light to dark, but then you'd also have the color on it. I don't want to do that right now, but that's my plan for this guy, is to just speed paint him and see how that looks. And then if I don't love it, I'll do like more intense highlights, like the volumetric highlighting. But yeah, Vallejo is pretty much my go-to standard for all paint. I like them because they're so consistent. Like I said, with their rattle can primer, like they have colors that match right into the bottle. So I can do stuff like this. It's great for batch painting. And they're cheap. My local hobby store, AAA Games, has them for 15 bucks a can, which, I mean, for me, I think that's a pretty good price compared to Citadel paints. Their rattle cans are around $20 or more. That's pretty decent. Good for consistency. Let me see here. Man, I can't believe it's been 40 minutes already. You're welcome, Hungry. Hungry Dino. Depends what you're doing. I mean, I hear AK Interactive paint is really good. I've never tried it. There are so many paint brands now that I even see people like the regular YouTubers who are into miniature painting talking about just the sheer number of them. And everyone's got, you know, slightly different formulas. So again, I've been sticking, I think another reason I've been sticking with the Vallejo is that they have all the historical colors figured out, such as English uniform and Japanese uniform, German uniform. It just says what they are. You don't have to guess to figure out what the best color should be. It's all laid out for me specifically. So in terms of historicals, I think they've got it the most dialed in, and anything else you're going to have to figure it out yourself. I think AK Interactive might have a good selection. I haven't looked, but I see like they have paint sets similar to Vallejo, like for if you wanted to paint like uniforms and stuff like that. I just don't know what they name their paints, if they just name them straight up colors or if they're specific like Vallejo is. And then if you're painting fantasy miniatures, then it becomes like I know AK Interactive has like Greenskins paint sets, and then they have an example of like an orc. So you know you've got all the colors to paint like a high contrast orc. But then it depends again on how contrasty you want to make stuff. Like, are you going for like real vibrant fantasy colors, or do you want something that's more subdued and realistic? And I think that's where the Vallejo colors are really dialed in as well. They do have, so the difference I learned recently is that there's model color brand and then game color, and the game colors seem to just be a higher saturation for gaming. Brighter colors. Okay, you're like just like you know, if I think of fantasy, I think of higher saturation, and I think of historicals, it's lower saturation, it's a lot of earthy colors, especially when we're talking about World War II. I was in AAA asking the guy, I said, what's the difference between game color and model color? And he says, nothing. And I was looking at them, and I kind of deduced on my own that the model color was more for realistic colors, more subdued, desaturated, and the game color was brighter hues. I don't want to overwork this guy's uniform, but I do want to call out some highlight areas so it's not too drab. It's an interesting pose choice because if he's used in any sort of diorama, I mean, if you use them in anything, you're not going to see the bottom, but they gave him bottom details. I guess if you want to chop them up and, you know, maybe do some kit bashing with them or something. I didn't even get, if I had him stuck to a piece of wood, so I didn't even get primer on the bottom right here. I need to decide what I'm going to do with him. But I like that he's dark where the shadows fall. So I'll just keep the focus on the face for now. I'm blown away that it's been 45 minutes. Time flies when I'm painting, man. It absolutely flies. I'm also rambling a lot. On the days that I've done this in the past, when I've gone and done a live stream and talked for over an hour, like, I am absolutely exhausted afterwards. What time is it? 1:55. I'm gonna probably have to call it at no later than 2:45, but I'm gonna need a break too. Oh, I gotta take more breaks when I stream. Hold on, okay, so Amir, if you're still here, bud, do I ever paint mustaches on the soldiers? Believe it or not, mustaches were mandatory for British soldiers in the First World War. They would jail if they shaved their upper lip. I've never heard of that. I'll have to look into it more. I will take you at your word for now. I've never painted a mustache, but that would be pretty cool to do that. I might leave his face clean shaven for now because it looks so good, but that's pretty funny. I've never heard of that. I definitely see that a lot, in military figures, but or just law enforcement and stuff, but I've never seen it. That makes sense. And Hungry, do I sell my painted miniatures? So lately for the channel, I've been selling them. If you check out the community tab, I've got 2 posts there where I sold 2 sets of Germans. And that's because I need some way to make some money off this. I have a full-time business that business has been kind of slow, and that's okay because I've been enjoying focusing on the miniature painting, but I've needed to bring in some money, so I've been selling them on there and then listing them on eBay and then linking the community tab. So I'll be doing that with these as well. I'm not sure how many of them I'm going to sell. It's probably going to be everything except the broken guy and these 2 guys, which are from shorts. And then so that would give me 11 guys, and I have to figure out what the price point is going to be. So from the last guys I've sold, it's averaged about $26 per miniature, which is fine, but considering the amount of time I put into them, I mean, compared to what I make or stand to make potentially with my full-time job, painting miniatures is not nearly as lucrative right now. I would love it to be, but I also want to be realistic about what I charge for these guys. So I'm still trying to feel out the market. I think the prices will, I'll try to be in a certain price range of under $200 right now, unless demand starts to really go up. I haven't had a lot of people clamoring and breaking down my door to buy stuff yet. If that happens, then the basic economics, the price will adjust to the demand. But the past 2 I've listed have sold within 24 hours, which is great, and I really appreciate the 2 people that bought from me. It's really a matter of I need to get them done. I want to paint to a specific standard that I like, that I feel comfortable with, and then I have to figure out what the value should be, and I try and set that based on what I would like what maybe I would see being a reasonable amount of money, like what would I pay. So my thinking was around, $26 to $30, $25 to $30 per miniature based on the miniature itself and the quality. So the first set I sold was TSST, Toy Soldiers of San Diego. And, they're not super high quality sculpts, so I didn't do a ton of work on the faces. It was more just like setting a general look and feel, like an aesthetic for them. And then the most recent ones were Classic Toy Soldiers by BMC Toys. And they are just they're not the highest quality plastic. So it was kind of like those things offset what I thought the price should be. Like if they were incredibly detailed miniatures, then I would do a higher quality paint job on them, and I feel like I could justify a higher cost. So balancing all that is something I consider. I don't want to just slap paint on guys and then sell them. Okay, I enjoy the painting process, and I want to make sure that if I'm going to sell them, they're going to look decent. I'll be proud to have put my name on them. So I signed the bottoms too. So these guys will go up as soon as they're done, and they'll help me determine future pricing as well. Because I am spent these. The Airfix figures have a higher quality detail than the 2 previous ones I painted, which were these are hard plastic, and the other ones were softer plastic. So the plastic itself was more porous, and the weapons bend, like they were bendy, and like I had constantly putting them in through hot water and reshaping them. These guys are just hard plastic, and they have a bit more definition in their details. So I'm trying to do them justice with an above average paint job, which is taking so damn long. So the price is probably going to have to be reflected in that. We'll see. And then maybe if I can find some people who are, avid collectors or something, maybe we could talk commissions or something in the future. But for now, it's kind of, you get what I paint. I'm gonna let him dry a bit. Thanks, Amir. Yeah, the mustaches is a funny idea. These are World War II soldiers, so I don't believe they would be. If you mentioned they were World War I soldiers that required mustaches, right? So I guess, if you couldn't grow a mustache, you couldn't fight, or you couldn't be in that particular branch of service? Is that how that would work? I've never heard of that. I don't know too much about. I know some general military history, but I don't have in-depth knowledge of every all the rules of every armed forces, and I don't know like the names of most weapons. I kind of have a general idea, but that is something I want to get better at. There's so many variants and variations of weapons from throughout World War II that I feel like that's a good place to start. Like you've got your key armies, and you can learn the key weapons, but everything has like slight variations, and the time frame of the war, things change a little bit. It's a bit overwhelming. So once I get all these highlights done on these figures, I'm going to do the faces, do the guns and the faces, and the bases. Guns, faces, bases. Then I can get some photos and list them up and hopefully get them sold, so then I can start on the next batch of guys. And I haven't determined what those are going to be yet, but I do have some things in mind. I have some Africa Corps, Airfix Africa Corps soldiers. They're vintage as well, so they're a softer plastic, but they have great detail. The only hesitation I have about them is that, Africa Corps uniforms are pretty close to the British Commando uniforms. They're very simple, and it's a lot of skin because they have the shorts on. But there is some variations that I saw of the Africa Corps Army uniforms that have some green in them. And then I've got more female soldiers I could paint by BMC Toys. They're not the best detail from what I've painted so far. And then I have a new set of toy soldiers of San Diego, the U.S. Army guys. They're soft plastic, but the detail is crazy good. So I think I might paint them. There's 8 unique sculpts. They're probably the highest on my interest level right now. So get through these, then start painting those. I also have this guy, and I have 7 other guys to build. So there's this one and this one. These are Tamiya models. These are U.S. Army soldiers that I started to build and put on some round bases. So these guys might be made into a diorama and sold as a diorama at some point. But I also do like just painting them up and then selling them straight as is and letting people do what they want with them, just having figures to move around their desk. So it's kind of up in the air about these guys, but the detail is great. A couple of them had mold lines right down the center of their face, which was really disappointing to see from a what's supposed to be like a detailed model, but they do clean up nice. I wish it would keep my live chat up instead of fading it. Yeah, I want to get to the faces as well. I want to get these guys highlighted first, and it's just time consuming. Much water. One of the things I was learning as I was painting, it was I'd say one of the main takeaways from painting that I learned was keeping my brush moist. I would let it go dry because I wasn't like in the right flow of constantly cleaning the brush. So that's something I think I would have told myself starting off, and that's something that I didn't really see other miniature painters talk about in order to maintain brush quality and maintain like its life, like maintain the quality of the brush and keep its life long. You need to keep it moist. And I was also using a lot of synthetic brushes when I was starting out because they were so cheap and I knew I was going to mess them up. And they would curl at the tips the second they would dry out. So I was able to get pretty good at keeping them from curling at the tips through keeping them moist and knowing how to like properly apply the paint. But there's only so much you can do before the synthetics start to really I mean, like, I guess there's only so much you can do with them in terms of like stretching the paint out, you know, and what I mean by that is the synthetic brushes, they hold water well, but these are Kolinsky brushes, like this is horsehair. So the way it retains the water is different than any synthetic brush, no matter how hard they try. The synthetic brushes dry out quicker as soon as they're exposed to the air, and then they're harder to, like, they're not harder to clean necessarily, but they are plasticky. Even the really high quality ones are plasticky, and the horsehair just stays moist better, and that they don't get the curlings at the tip and stuff. However, I am not perfect, and I still get paint in this bottom part, and this, it's called the ferrule, right? This metal part is called the ferrule, and when you get paint in this part where the brush meets the ferrule, it can dry, and then it can splay out the bristles. And if you don't get the paint out of there, you ruin the brush, because then you can't maintain that point. And you can kind of see the bottom of this. I don't know if it's coming up in the video, but I did get some paint in here, and I neglected to clean it. And at some point I must have been painting when it was dry, because if the paint gets too dry on the hairs, it'll start to, you get like these little pulls, because the paint's acrylic, right? So it's basically plastic. And you get these little micro tears in the hairs, and then they break right there. I don't know if you can see that. See how short that break is right there? So that's from me having the paint dry on the brush. And then I don't know why really, but it doesn't really come to a tip, like a point like it used to when I first got it. I think it's just from, I used this a lot. This was a $17 brush compared to the synthetics. When I get them at Hobby Lobby, I always get them on sale 40% off, so they're like $2 or $3. And they don't last long. Like, you know, might last a couple hours of painting, and even if you, with keeping them moist and really trying to maintain them, they do the same stuff. They lose their points. The Kolinsky hairs are able to maintain their points a bit better. All right, I'm rambling and giving myself a headache, so I'm gonna just paint for a couple of minutes. Hungry, the base plate that you saw on these guys, these are from Warhammer. I just have a lot of them, so I stuck them on there. They actually don't come with any bases at all. These are, I believe these are 40 millimeter. It doesn't say. They might be 30. They're not 32. I believe these are 40 millimeter base. No, I'm sorry. Let me think for a second. I don't have a tape measure. I think these are 40 millimeter bases, end to end. They might be 35s though, but I'm pretty sure they're 40. I also have 28 millimeters, which are, you know, you can get like 1 foot on them, but I wanted a bit more room in case I decided I wanted to add some ground texture to them. Too wet. Do some blending back on this guy again now that he's dried a bit. Smooth out some of these highlights. Mix, do a bit more mixing of the English uniform with the desert yellow, and I'm going to just find the midpoint where the shadow meets the highlight and do a nice wet blend. Looks like my video might have stopped. I'm going to try and reset the video real quick. Hold on. That's funny. It just flips the orientation. Cancel. Okay, so last time I did this, I turned my camera. Oh, I'm back. Sorry if that froze for everybody. Sometimes I think my camera gets too hot and freezes. I'm not really sure what the cause is, but I don't know how long it was frozen. It couldn't have been more than a few minutes because I do keep looking up. I think 10 or 11 people. That I just saw. I think that's my a record for most consecutive number of people watching me at one time. So that's cool. I'm very thankful to everyone who stops by and says anything and just says hi or watches for a few minutes. And yeah, Hungry, those bases are pretty big, but I wanted them big on purpose so I could, you know, maybe add something to them, make them like their own little mini dioramas. Okay, this guy's good spot. Make sure sure nothing's freezing. Oh, 13 people. That's my new record for consecutive viewers. Thanks, everybody. Y'all the best. It is, I like doing the lives while I'm painting because it makes the time go by quicker, for sure. It's awesome. However, I am not always in a position where I can paint and talk. And I don't know if people want that. I guess I feel like people want to ask questions or engage in some way. And sometimes I got my son with me, or my wife's home, and I don't want to be like chatting to myself up here. So like everyone's out of the house now, so it's a good time to go live. I'm trying to figure out what that schedule should be. If I go live when my son is home, I'll just be talking the whole time. Who are you talking to? He's almost 4, so he's very inquisitive and likes to hang out with Dad because Dad has all the cool toys. And I love that, but then it's really hard to focus on a stream and engage with everybody if they're asking questions. But then when I'm not streaming and I'm just sitting here painting, and especially if I'm not recording, it can be a bit lonely. Just a bit, sometimes. For the most part, though, I enjoy painting in the quiet. There we go. I pretty much always have a YouTube video up. That's the other thing, is I can't, if I want to watch something or listen to something, I can't watch anything that's copyrighted or someone else's content. And if it comes up in the stream, then, I mean, I'm not monetized, but I think it flags it and then it won't be shown, or I have to like mute the audio. And if I was talking, then it pretty much defeats the purpose. I think there's apps now, and Adobe Premiere might do this. They might actually have some like technology that will remove the audio, but I don't know. I don't want to mess with all that. I'm trying to keep this operation clean and simple. I don't love spending a ton of time in the editing process. I have several long-form content videos started and incomplete because the editing has just been like nightmarish for various different reasons. I just don't know what to say or how much to say, and then I end up sitting on these videos for a long time. So I have 3 videos started, and the last one I did was over a month ago. So that's why I usually stick to the short, so I can just take all the footage I recorded, do some 1-second clips, and then YouTube lets you use select from their library of music, which is all like awesome songs, a lot of Metallica in there, but I don't have to worry about copyright problems because they have agreements with those music producers or artists or whatever, so they allow up to a minute of the music to be played. And if I were to become monetized for any, which is such a far number away, but they would get a cut of that ad revenue or whatever if I use their music, which is totally fair. But I'm so far away from getting those kind of numbers anyway, it's not really relevant. So the best way to monetize the channel right now is to sell the figures directly. And in order to do that, I want to have a certain standard. That just takes time. Okay, 2 more guys to paint uniforms for. These 2 guys, these 2 machine gunners. I'm going to take a 2-minute break here and stretch. And I'll check your messages. Hey Chris, hi Gotbook. Hold on, where did my messages go? Hey, Chris, that's awesome, man. Thanks for responding. Yep. Thank you, Gronk. Thanks, Hungry. Yeah, man. Appreciate you stopping by. Sleep well, buddy. Chris Pacer. Thanks, man. It's an awesome hobby. I really enjoy it. It's been great since starting it. I started when my son was born as a quiet hobby to kind of keep me occupied while I watched him, because I work from home, and it's really been growing into something very special. Oop, and my messages just went away. Yeah, Chris, I haven't been to any toy fairs, but I do want to go do that. I want to go on the hunt, because buying on eBay is fine, but the thrill of the hunt in person is awesome. The Airfix 132 Japanese infantry look great. I haven't bought any myself yet. I have some BMC, which are, I believe, are recasts of classic toy soldiers, and there's a video of me painting one of those on in my shorts, and then they're pretty good. They're not the greatest sculpts. They're okay. And then I do want to get the Airfix ones. I have a couple I'm watching on eBay as well. But I have so much to paint right now that it's not a priority. And Godpuck, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you stopping by for the kind words. And thanks. The music is something I really don't know. I just kind of picked something that was chill for the stream, because I didn't want it to be too aggressive where it's distracting and makes the process stressful rather than enjoyable. So this is just, it's like a lo-fi, it's called the Relaxed Movement channel. And it's just copyright-free music that you can stream. It's 12 hours of this. But I've already been at this for almost 74 minutes, which is crazy, excuse me. Yeah, if you guys are just joining, you have any questions or just want to say hi, I keep looking up to check my chat. Hold on, I need to take a break here. I need to stretch. So I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just doing some push-ups. Something that is important, I think, when you're starting miniature painting is to not cause too much stress on your neck and back. I painted a standing desk now, but when I first started painting, and up until this year, I would sit and paint, and I would hunch over, and I would paint for too long without breaks because I would get so dialed in and focused in, and then I would have these awful neck pains, and it would really affect my sleep, and it would be like days before I felt better again, and I couldn't paint. So getting a standing desk and getting myself comfortable in a position where I can engage my core and keep my elbows flat has been really important. I'm going to show you real quick. So I look like a mess, but here's me. Oop, I hit the wrong thing. Here we go. So here's my standing desk, elbows flat. I'm standing upright. Look at this. Need a haircut. But here's everything. And then this allows me to keep my posture somewhat good, better, and not hunch over where I would get like this crazy like bend like this. Not even realize it. Yeah, man, Chris, you gotta take care of your neck, man. You gotta take care of your posture while you're painting. It's something that people really don't talk about. If you Google or YouTube other painters, I've seen some people use their camera. So they have a camera set up, then they use a monitor as like a way of looking at everything enlarged in front of them. And then they sit up straight, and then they just have to keep their head on the monitor rather than like tilting their head down and like really looking at the figure, which is genius. But I don't have that set up, and I don't want to really be sitting. So this year I guess it was the end of last year, I got a standing desk for my work, And now I can't really sit at all. I very much prefer to stand and do all my design work and then also paint. And now I just get fatigued from standing, but I have to remember to put my arms down, stretch my elbows. Nothing falls asleep doing this, but it's all part of like that self-care, so I don't overwork or strain. The thing with me is I have ADHD, so I will get hyper focused. I take medication, and I'll get hyper focused and forget to even drink. And I'll work for like 2 hours straight, similar to what's going on right now. And then I would like stand up and not only get dizzy, but be like, oh my God, my neck. And then it would be like 4 hours later, and then I get intense pain, and then I wasn't sleeping, which sucked. And then I'd have to take breaks from painting, and it was hard to get back into it. Now I can do it pretty consistently because I found a posture that works for me. So be mindful of that. Okay, these guys are the last two for the uniforms. Then I have to make the decision if I'm going to paint the guns or the faces. So we'll do that. Hold on, I'm going to the messages. I'm going to go back in order. Someone else said I'm like the Bob Ross of figure painting show. I appreciate that. Bob was the man. There is a toy fair coming up, and there's actually I think I missed it. I think it was this past weekend. My local hobby store has a lot of historical toy things they do. But yeah, I do want to go to some more. Bring my brother. I like history a lot. I watch videos on history. I have a hard time retaining all the information, but I do love studying history, learning about it, listening to podcasts and stuff. I don't retain everything, but it's good to have a general knowledge. And Chris, to your question about paint, I use Vallejo for everything. The anti-gravity discs, man, that'd be sick. I don't know how that would work, but I'd be willing to try it. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for stopping by, and take care. Okay. I hate thinking this way, but my instinct is to be like, all right, let's get this done. But I want to enjoy the process. So I need to just check my own instincts there, because I don't want to just breeze through this. I do want to enjoy it, but I also want to be done these guys so I can sell them and, you know, keep moving forward into new figures. Too much moisture. These have been incredibly rewarding to paint so far, especially the one guy whose face I did a great job. Like, I really enjoyed painting it, and I think I did a great job on it, and this guy. But I can't maintain that same level. I need to get better at the process, because this guy in particular took me too long. I need to get the times down so I can increase my I just need to increase my efficiency so I can paint more and get more out. Get things off of my desk and into the hands of people who want them. The quicker I get through these guys, I can get into the new Toy Soldiers of San Diego Army figures I just bought. They have so much great detail. Probably going to do, so there's 8 unique sculpts in the other set I want to paint, and they have a lot higher detail. These guys are pretty simple, but they're good sculpts with decent detail, and the Toy Soldiers of San Diego versions have high detail, but the plastic is softer, and I think I might do them one at a time rather than batch painting like all these, and then I have to determine whether or not I'm going to wait and sell them all in one big group or if I'll sell them one at a time. If there's interest, we'll see. But I will continue to make everything I paint available to purchase, unless of course it's a gift. We'll have to see, depending on what it is. But right now the plan is to paint and sell and paint and sell and keep that going because the channel isn't monetized any other way. And if I'm painting, then I'm not working my full-time gig as a designer, and I'm not making any money, and I gotta do that because I got a family. I'll check the messages again in a second. Sorry guys, I don't have them right in front of me. I have to like look up over the camera. Oh boy. It is a constant back and forth, man. Yeah, it is, Amir. I'm still learning every army too, and like just figuring out what the colors should be for these guys was a bit tricky because I had done 2 of them and I liked them, but I wanted to improve. So I did some research on what the colors should be. I looked at the way other people had painted theirs. There's not a ton of reference for well-painted army men out there, so I was looking at the box art. These guys didn't come with a box, I bought them used. But looking at the actual Airfix box art and then looking at some examples other people had painted. I think what I need to do is find some books on military uniforms so I can get more accurate examples of what colors things should be, because every time I paint, someone comes out of the woodwork and says, oh, this should be this color, this should be this color. And I don't really care so much about the historical accuracy, but if I intend to sell them, then I want to be a bit more discerning in that regard, so people are more inclined to want them. Like, so far no problems, but if the people buying them like that stuff, then I want to try to make the market happy, I guess, right? Try to make the customer happy. That sort of goes back to my designer mentality. Like, I've just been in the service industry for so long, working with clients, that like I gotta please them, but I also want to enjoy what I'm doing. Same with design. But as I'm painting this, like, I want to make it enjoyable for myself, and then make it something that others will enjoy as well. So it's again been back and forth. It's tough, constant push and pull. So if it's not historical, or if it's just something I'm doing as an art, like straight art piece, I very much consider this art. But if it was like more artistically motivated, I'm not as concerned about what the colors are. But I think anyone looking to buy these is going to be discerning in that regard, right? The 2 people who have bought the figures from me so far in the past have just stated that they loved my channel, which I really appreciate, and I think maybe they would have bought it no matter what it was. Who knows? Gotta strike that balance. Be as accurate as I can while also making it interesting looking. These colors are kind of boring. just like olive and tan, but they'll look good when they're done. This guy is pretty close to complete. I need to figure out, like, I like his face as it stands right now, but he does need some eyes and then some smoothing out on the face. But so it's somewhere in between like these 2 levels of detail I need to get to. The quickest way to do these guys would be to dry brush all the uniforms, spray paint them, dry brush them, hit the details with a single coat of paint, and then be done. But for some reason I'm doing all this shading with the uniforms, and it I think this is something I was like, let's take them to the next level rather than just relying so heavily on a coat of spray paint to do the work of the uniform. And then after I made that decision, I was like, oh, maybe that effort would have been better spent on doing the faces. But at that point, at this point I've already committed, so it's like, let's just move forward and then take that lesson with us into the next batch of guys. So with the Marines the US soldiers I'm going to paint next, probably be more focused on the faces because the faces are higher quality, and then dial back the uniform and the uniform, like the details of the character. Because everyone tells me, and I agree with them, everyone really looks at the faces first, and that's how you judge the overall quality of the paint job. Not everyone cares as much. Some people are more forgiving, but if I was a collector, I would be a bit discerning in that regard, so I want to keep that in mind. And I think that's something that goes back to my design roots as well, is to just try to be the most discerning client. Like, if I was the client, what would I expect? What would be my standard? That's how I go. I've always got an art director in my head, looming over me in my mind. And change this, try this. Is this good enough? I've had some really demanding, I guess, like senior people in my life guiding my hand through my career, and it's carrying over into the miniature painting. One thing I thought about doing was creating videos where it's focused on miniature painting through meditation, like coupled with meditation, because I do a lot of that, and this is very meditative. But I'll do like hot yoga and solar meditation, so there is an overlap to be like gained between the two. It's just a matter of like sitting down and recording it and figuring out, well, how long should that be, and am I going to get distracted doing miniature painting and trying to talk through a guided meditation? It's probably going to be a bit tricky for me, but I want to do it. I think that's a cool idea to at least try. This in itself, though, is a form of meditation for me. Like the application of paint. It's so relaxing. When I get, sometimes, a lot of times, most of the time when I'm painting, if I'm not being deliberate and intentional, I will overpaint because I will enjoy the process. And that will lead me to overworking like the face or the blend or something like that. And then, I might have it in a good spot and I'll keep going, and then it'll look like shit. And then I'll get mad at myself for overworking it. But then I'll tell myself, well, I enjoyed the process. The end result won't be as great, typically. The paint will be too thick. The blend won't be as good. But there's lessons to be learned in that. And I zone out. I'm going to check the messages again in a second. I want to get these highlights blended in a bit better. Sorry if you guys are chatting. I don't have my window open, or in front of me rather. I can't believe it's been over 80 minutes of this. 90 minutes. Wow, an hour and a half I've been painting. So I don't know who's been with me the whole time. If anyone has, if you've jumped in and jumped out. But thanks for hanging with me. I'm going to, oh wow, it's 2:45. I gotta get my son in 45 minutes, but I've also got to be considerate of how long I'm spending on here. I think I'm gonna paint until it's 2:41 Eastern right now. I think I'm gonna paint for another another 10 minutes. Hold on, Gronk, I'll get to your question in a second. Get to all these. Okay, it's hard to balance. Hey Raxo, and is there a paint scheme I've liked? Let me think about that while I read everyone else's questions. Starter set video could be a good idea too, just a matter of organizing it. My Team Fortress figures have passed painted on a stubble for one. How did I achieve that look? Okay, so favorite paint camo. I really liked the I forget the name of them, but they're the German troops that I just painted. I have pictures up on my community page. I sold them. I really liked that color scheme. It was like a green and a dark gray. That looked great. Those were German soldiers. And how did I add the stubble? So the stubble was added by combining the face color, which was like a rosy, I think it was rose, like a rosy flesh by Vallejo, with a bit of blue gray or dark gray, and just doing a gentle mixture until it became desaturated and looked a bit like stubble, and then I painted that over. And it might have even been black. I'm going to switch to a different stream, something a little less splashy. Yeah, this is better. There's too much symbol in that other version. It's sort of stressing me out. Hopefully these are also streamer friendly though. Hold on, let me check. Too much static. I don't want any static in the songs. Ugh, I don't like that at all. Oh, this is fine. Everything has static in it. The lo-fi aspect, I guess. Let me check if you guys said anything else. Yeah, man, I could, I'm running out of time here. I guess if I'm setting this limitation on myself, I want to get this uniform done, or I could show you how I do it. Or I'll make a note here and potentially make a short video in the future on how to do that. The thing with the shorts is I never really explain what I do. I just show you, and then people kind of take that information how they see it. But I never show like the paint mixing and stuff, and that's largely because it's a bit distracting to have to stop and then take a video of me mixing the paint and then go back to painting. I forget to do that. But if I'm intentional about it, I could try and make a demo tutorial on how to paint the 5 o'clock shadow. It really is just mixing in a bluish gray with the paint, like the top level color, like a mid-tone, not top level, like a mid-tone flesh color. Depends on the skin tone. For a darker skin tone, I don't know how I would do it. Depends on how dark the skin tone is. I paint a lot of Caucasian figures because that just seems to be a lot of what is out there in terms of historical figures. It's just their faces. So now I'm trying to get more variation in those skin tones with like tans and stuff. So these guys all have a darker base coat because I wanted them to be a bit more tan than pinkish. But I feel like, you know, British Caucasian men are usually on like the pasty or pinker side. From what I've seen, I don't see too many like Brits with tans. I see fewer like darker skinned people. I mean, even thinking back, a lot of my references are movies, right? So what the movies I've seen and the shows, Band of Brothers, Saving Private Ryan, there are almost no people of color in those movies. Especially, I mean, it's especially on the German side, where I mean, I don't know if they had any people of color in the army due to the whole racist thing that they had going on. So I try and add it in. I try and explore various colors, like skin tones, with different people. So I got the female soldier. Hold on. So I have this female soldier here from a BMC set, and I thought this was a good opportunity to try painting a darker skin color. I think she turned out great. So it was like, I'm looking at this thinking, how would I give, say this was a male, and they had a dark 5 o'clock shadow. I think also adding in the dark gray to like this, I believe this was like a chocolate brown, it was called, like in there, it might give you that effect. But you also have to look at the colors that it's playing against too. She could even use some more highlights, some like red orange. Now that I have this, I was kind of lacking in the reddish brown paint department, so I just picked some up last week, and now I have more variety in that color. So now I feel like I could give her some warmer skin tone highlights in the cheeks, which will look pretty good. But she, you know, she looks decent the way she is. I like that. And I've done some other darker skin figures on Warhammer. I don't have any of them in front of me. They're all packed into a storage bin. But I've done like 3 or 4 variations, and then it's really just a matter of, like, it's a lot of variations in Caucasian colors. Now you got me thinking though, how would I do that? It's really just putting it on and applying it in real time and seeing how it looks. Trial and error. I spent a lot of time just mixing paint and blending, like these guys, like all different colors all the time, and not recording it, because a lot of it has gone nowhere. I'd say that's a good point of advice, is as you're learning to paint, is be prepared for a lot of it to go nowhere and, you know, not look great. If you're like me and just experimenting and enjoying the process, you can get better faster with deliberate practice, and that's true of anything. So I'm saying, like, today I'm going to sit down, I'm just going to work on the base painting, the base colors of like the jacket, and then you get those clean and like cleanly and evenly applied, and then you say, okay, now I'm going to apply a mid-tone, and then you pick out your mid-tones, do the same thing, nice clean application. Highlights, same thing. And then, you know, then you can be more deliberate about your blending from there. But I've tried so many different techniques: dry brush, wet blending, volumetric painting, which is closer to this, the glazing. It took me so long to understand what they meant by glazing. I was watching videos, I watched so many videos. They're like, you glaze it, you just water it down. But it's just a fancy word for blending thin paints, and then like how to do that the best. Like, I naturally think I understood it better than when I tried to understand it from learning from someone else. Oh, my dog is freaking out. I think the mail's here. I will be right back. I gotta go close the door and calm him down. Okay, so if you're still with me, I'm going to check real quick. I got 7 people here. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to check the messages one more time. Turn this music off when I end this. Cool, yeah. Thank you everyone who joined. This was 101 minutes. That's good. It's a good amount of time. I think my record is 2 hours. It flies by when I'm talking and painting the whole time. I was able to, for the most part, hit my goal for the stream, which is complete all the highlights for all the guys. And now it's faces, guns, faces, bases. And, you know, I can't do anything with this video until for 24 hours. It takes 24 hours for the live stream video to be like something I can download, and then I can add that and make that into a short video. I haven't been recording every step of the painting process, but now that I'm close to done, I can pick 1 or 2 guys and focus on recording a few of the highlights of painting the faces and the guns, and make some like a short video out of that. And then I'll get these guys up on eBay and post a link, and then get into the next round of soldiers. But yeah, I liked this. I like the results of these uniforms. They're pretty cool. I guess this guy could use a little bit more, but I'll do that off camera, then jump into finishing up the faces. I gotta get my son soon. So thank you checking out the stream. More in the future. Hopefully I get more of a schedule down as this becomes you know, as I work out what the best times to do this are. So I had some pretty good peak numbers there. I think I broke a record for most viewers at once, which is great. Even though that number is 13, that's definitely shows progress over what is typical of when I've done this in the past, where I'd max out at 5 or 6. So thank you everyone. Look for these for sale on eBay soon. Keep checking the community tab. I try and post once a day an update of what I'm working on, and I will try and give you guys a heads up before the sale goes live if you're interested in purchasing them. Cool. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.